So can we start? Okay, that's great. Hello, everyone. I see 150 people watching us today. I didn't think that we can acquire so many people to see what's Jmix 2.1 is. But that's great to see every one of you. And we are here today. My name is Victor. I'm responsible for product management, and today there is here is Konstantin Krivopustov, who is the technical manager of the platform. We are working today together, and we are going to introduce the Jmix 2.1 here and dive deeper in details and highlight main features of this new release. I guess every one of you waited for it for a long time. Konstantin, thank you. I will start the meeting and just make a small recap of about where we are, what steps have we already passed, and what are the next steps before diving in details. I want to share my screen. Just a second. Yeah, that's it. Hope you can see my presentation. I'm going to make a small recap about our path towards Jmix 2.1. And I should mention that it was quite hard and a long story. Long time ago, 3 years ago, practically 3 years ago, we've announced that we are going to move to Jmix from Cuba platform. And here on the slide, you can see the post in our corporate blog where Andrei Belayev announced core features that we are going to introduce with Jmix. And frankly speaking, we've spent these 3 years to implement those features in the way we've promised to. And to make it clear, I want to review those features, our promises that we've put in the beginning of our path of transition to Jmix. And here they are. So there are just 6 items. The first one is that we've promised to move to springboot from Spring and to make it a core technology. The second option is that we've promised to perform decomposition of Jmix and introduce it as a set of modules. We've promised to bring a new data model definition and to go forward mainstream JPA. We've promised to adopt liquid base for script database, script generation, migration generation. We've tried to simplify React.js client development. We have some experiments in this area in Cuba. And we've promised to provide a migration path from Cuba platform. So these 6 major points which we've worked on for these 3 years, and now I should say that we came to, let's say, a milestone. So we've passed the milestone. We've reached most of those targets. I want to give you a closer look about our path because we receive some questions from the community, so from newcomers who asked to explain why it took so much time and what difficulties did we face on this path. Here is the slide describing the path, the transition path from Cuba to Jmix over these 3 years. Just to make a recap, the announcement of starting Jmix, the way to transition to Jmix started in 2020, and in July 2021, we've introduced the first major release of Jmix. It included Spring Boot already, so we've passed the first promise and we've introduced the Spring Boot support in the core of our product. but it still was based on classic UI, on Vaadin 8 technology, which we've also promised to modernize in our next version. And only in 2023, in February, we've introduced Jmix 1.5, where we could support in, let's say, an experimental stage, the Flow UI, the new Vaadin Flow UI technology, along with classic UI. This was a very important step forward, and I mean, a step forward in terms of enhancing UI in our Jmix platform. And it did really take us a lot of time and efforts. And I can say that in the beginning, we feel that our estimations were not so clear. Yeah. So now we can truly say that it was much harder instead of what we predicted. But the next thing happened, and in July 2023, we've announced the split of Jmix 1.5 into the continuation of, let's say, Jmix 1.x version, supporting the classic UI and Spring Boot. And another major version was introduced. It was Jmix 2.0. The reason for that was that internally, the new Flow UI can be supported only with Java above 17 plus. And this goes along with the new Spring Boot 3, which we are using internally in Jmix 2.0. And this cannot be supported along with classic UI as it was in Jmix 1.5. So these were the major reasons why we've decided to split the product into these paths. And to support our existing community, we've announced that Jmix 1.x will be also supported for a long time, because we understand that's moving from one technology to other, making a very serious shift in investing efforts and time to move your business logic and move your application. The new technology stack is quite hard. So, yeah, and that's the reason why we've decided to support both paths. And now newcomers and our existing community can utilize both Jmix 2.1 and Jmix 1.x for their projects. And in this area, Jmix 2.1 provides only new Flow UI, only new Vaadin Flow UI technology with the new Spring Boot, and the Jmix 1x stands for 2.7 and classic UI support only. Nevertheless, we claim that Jmix 1.x will be supported till the end of 2028 for free. And we will provide the commercial support by 2038. I'd like also to remind you that the Cuba platform will have their free support by March 2025, and the commercial support will be ended at 2030. This issue should be taken into account when you will decide where to go with the new product, or where will you go with your existing product, because I think that the next year is the right point to move towards Jmix 1.x as minimum. And we do recommend to do this as soon as possible, because supporting of Cuba platform will be quite hard further. To make a small recap on the promises we've performed in the beginning, I'd like to highlight that Spring Boot at last was introduced and fully supported in the core as the core technology. we've performed decomposition of the platform into modules, and you may know that now you can attach to your product the model you need, the model you need, so you can attach add-ons, choosing the right one from the marketplace. And combine them according to your needs. So we do not provide you a big portion of functionality in the blank project. So we've supported the new model definition according to GPA. We've supported liquid-based script generation, but occasionally we decided to not to support React.js client development. And the reason for that is that it was too complicated. It was too complicated to glue these technologies together. We've wrote an article on that. You may find it in our blog about our decision. It was quite hard because we've announced it in the beginning. But we are really inspired by the things we see at Flow UI, which you can also investigate and check in new Jmix 2.1. We see that the Vaadin team seriously re-engineered the core of the technology, and it definitely supports, let's say, reactive similar approach to UI design, staying still server side. Yeah, so keeping still server side UI paradigm. And we've also introduced the migration path from Cuba platform. I know that it's still a little bit headache, so it's not just a one-click solution, but we do our best to support our customers in migration from Cuba platform solutions. And you may find additional guidance and technical support in our documentation. So now I'd like to pass the word to Konstantin to go deeper in technical details about Jmix 2.1. Yeah, I'm shutting down.
Hi, everyone. Now we'll explore the latest updates in Jmix version 2.1. So we'll start from the brief overview of the new add-ons, then look at the improvements in the BPM add-on, in the UI layer, and new features in Studio. Finally, we'll share our plans for future releases. So let's start from the new add-ons. The dynamic attributes, notifications, search, and web DAF add-ons have mostly the same features as their counterparts in Jmix 1.5 Classic UI. The functionality of bulk editor and JMX console was previously included in the Classic UI core. Now it's optional, but you can easily add it to your project. The Maps add-on is currently in the preview state, but you can use it already. Just take into account that its API can slightly change in the future. Now let's take a brief look at the add-ons functionality. The dynamics attributes add-on allows you to define new entity attributes without changing the database schema and restarting the application. You can define a single set of attributes for an entity or split the attributes into multiple categories. In this example, the book entity is classified in two categories, electronic and paper. The electronic books have the available format and file size attributes, and the paper books have the other set of attributes. After configuring the attributes, users can view and edit them in the existing views. For example, here in my books view, you can see in the book detail view, there is a drop down for selecting a category. and the fields for entering the attributes for the selected category. In this case, the dynamic attributes are shown in the special UI component, Dynamic Attributes panel. It's added to the view at design time. So it's in the book detail view. Here, this component displays the dynamic attributes in the current view. You also need to add the dynamic attributes facet to the view to load and save dynamic attributes together with the entity. Dynamic attributes can also be shown in any existing data grid or form layout component if the view has the dynamic attributes facet. You can see it here in the books list view. The file size attribute is displayed right in the data grid. It's configured here in the dynamic attributes configuration for the file size. On the visibility tab, I defined that this attribute must be shown in the book list view in the books data grid component. So now let's take a look at the notifications add-on. It's designed for sending in-app or email notifications to the users. You can send notifications using this special application view. So now I will send a notification to myself. I'm an admin here. And as soon as I send a notification, I see the number of unread notification in the notifications indicator here. So here I can view the notification and so on. The notification indicator is a component that you can add anywhere in your application. In my example, it's in the main view, here in the header of the navigation bar. You can also send notifications through the API of the add-on and use email or other custom channels. The next add-on in our list is the search add-on. It provides the integration with Elasticsearch to enable full text search across entities and file storage of your application. In my example application, I configured the full text search for the book entity. So when I enter some search terms here in the search field, I get the list of results in a special view. I can open a detail view for a found entity. And in addition to the global search field, the add-on provides a full text search condition for generic filter. So I can open the list of books, and here in the generic filter, I can create a full text condition. I will enter the same search term, and I will get the same results, but now in the data grid inside the list view, but still the data grid is filtered using the Elasticsearch index. So now let's take a look at how to configure the full text search. First of all, you should define a connection to the Elasticsearch service. In my case, it's running on the local host without authentication. After that, you should define an annotated Java interface where you should specify what entities and what attributes to index. Then you need to place the search field somewhere in the user interface. In my example, it's again in the main view here, search field. And also for automatic regular indexing, you should add the Quartz add-on to your application. So it's here. And that's it. The book entities will be automatically indexed and re-indexed upon changes. Okay, the next add-on is WebDAV. The WebDAV add-on provides access to files located in the file storage through the WebDAV protocol. This allows users to seamlessly open and edit files using their desktop applications like Word, Excel, or LibreOffice, without the need to download and upload files to the web application. I won't be able to demonstrate the whole process because I didn't set up HTTPS for the application. Instead, I'll just show the admin UI of the add-on. Here you can find all the files managed by the add-on. In addition to exporting files through WebDAV, the add-on provides versioning. Each change will create a new version of the file, and you can manage the versions manually. For example, you can create a new version based on some previous one. The next add-on in our list is Bulk Editor. Bulk Editor is designed to allow users to change attribute values for multiple entity instances at once. Let's open the second books list. And here I can select some books, invoke the bulk edit action. And for example, I can change the genre for the selected entities. Apply, and the action updates the attribute for all selected entities. To use bulk edit in a view, you just need to add an action to it, book list view, and here this is the action of bulk edit inside the DataGrid, and optionally you can define a linked button to call the action from above. The next add-on is Jmix console. It provides a web interface to Java Management Extensions API. It allows system administrators to manage JMX bins right in the application UI instead of connecting an external tool like JConsole or Visual VM. Here in Jmix console view, you can browse the list of mbins, open them, edit attributes, and invoke operations. Let's find an mbin. For example, this mbin allows you to manage the full text search functionality. And I can invoke an operation, see the results, and so on. Okay, now let's take a look at the new Maps add-on, which is the last one in this release. Here in my sample, view, the map just displays OpenStreetMap with a single marker at some coordinates. Let's take a look at how it's done. sample view. And here you can see the geomap component, which defines two layers. The first one is the tile layer with OpenStreetMap source. And the second layer is vector layer with some vector source. The vector layer is configured programmatically. Here in the onInit handler of the view, I get the vector layer from the map component and add some marker at some point to this vector layer. In fact, the maps add-on provides much more capabilities. You can use different data providers, including binding to entities. You can display image layers, points, polylines, and polygons. The missing features now are clustering and heat maps. They will be added in the next release. Now, let's discuss improvements in the BPM add-on. They include the DMN table modeler in the application UI and enhanced process form wizard in Studio. The DMN modeler offers basically the same features as previously in classic UI. You can define a decision table to use it later in a process. So now let's take a look at the process form wizard in Studio. Imagine that you have a process that defines some variables, process variables, like here, the book entity, the genre entity, and title string. Then, when creating a form, process form for a user task, the wizard will let you select variables to edit on the form, the book genre and title. It will also suggest you to create some outcomes. And at the end, it will generate a completely functional view that contains fields for the variables and buttons for selected outcomes. The variables are injected into UI components, and outcomes are defined here in the special annotation, and the buttons will close the view and invoke the BPM engine API. Okay. Now, let's discuss the improvements in UI components, starting from the DataGrid. The new features of the DataGrid include declarative column renderers, ability to sort by multiple columns, aggregation, and filters in column headers. The declarative column renderers simplify displaying of custom content in the DataGrid cells. Let's open the user detail view and look at this column, due date column. This column has a renderer that provides custom formatting of the value based on this format. You can set a custom formatter for any custom format using the renderer for any date, time, or number column. Or you can define a column like this, like the status column, which is not bound to an entity attribute at all. And you can define its content using the render handler. So here in this case, the renderer just returns some text, but it can also be any UI component, like here for the completed column, we create and return a checkbox. The next improvement is ability to sort a data grid by multiple columns. Here in the book list, you can see that I can sort by a single column and by publisher, for example, and then by author. Sorry, publisher, then author. Also, of course, by title, no restrictions here. And multi-sorting is configured using attributes of the data grid component. So for this data grid in books list view, I define this few attributes for multi-sorting. The aggregation feature allows you to show aggregated values in the top or bottom row of the data grid. Here you can see that the data grid displays the total number of rows at the bottom. And aggregation is configured using departments list, using this aggregatable attribute for the data grid component, and by adding the aggregation element for a column. Here the aggregation type is count, but you can also use sum, average, mean, or max aggregation for a column. Probably the most interesting new feature of the data grid is a filter in column headers. The filter condition is opened by clicking this little funnel icon. And if a condition is set, the icon is highlighted. The filter is configured very easily. Let's open the user list view and look at this column's definition. So I defined the filterable true attribute for a column. And we also recommend making the filterable columns non-resizable. Resizable false here. And with a fixed width. The width can be explicitly defined, or it can be automatically calculated width. If the column is resizable, your users will be able to shrink the column and lose the filter indicator. So just use this attribute too. You can use the column filter together with generic filter and property filter components as in this view. The conditions from all filters will be just combined using the AND operator, and they will modify the query on the backend. So now let's move on to other UI improvements. In this release, we've integrated two more Vaadin components, virtual list and HTML, implemented two new facets, settings and timer, and provided a new way of fetching items in drop-down lists. Virtual lists can be used instead of a data grid in entity list views. It can show a long list of items with arbitrary content. So you can make a view like this one, Let's take a look at how it is defined. So it's in step list. I declared the virtual list component and linked it to a collection data container. The content of items should be defined in the renderer method or the virtual list component. Here in the renderer method, you write pure Vaadin code. So you just create layouts, create components, and add components to layouts. In the future, we will provide some approach for declarative layout in situations like this. Now about HTML component. Here on my sample view, the HTML component allows you to insert arbitrary HTML content into views. The content can be defined in various ways. For example, here it is located in the message bundle. Therefore, it can be easily localized. And in the application, the HTML is displayed as is, so just HTML. The next feature is the settings facet. Let's open the book list view again. And here I've added the settings facet. It saves and restores settings of visual components for the current user. You can just drop the facet into the view and set its auto attribute to true. Then it will save parameters of DataGrid columns, open state of details and generic filter component, selected page size of a simple pagination component. Just make sure that the components whose state you want to save have identifiers. The facet also provides handlers that allow you to save and restore any properties of the view and its component. For example, here I save the value of an arbitrary checkbox component. Now about the timer facet. The timer can be defined in the XML, and you set some parameters for it, when to start. You should define a handler method for timer. And the handler will be called at the specified intervals after the view is opened. So here on this tab, you can see the results. Now about one more important feature on the UI layer, the new way of fetching items in drop-down lists. I mean components like this entity combo box for selecting references. Let's open the user detail view. Here, this component. So additionally, to display a list of items in entity combo box, you have to define a collection data container with a loader and the query like this one. And set this container as items container in the combo box. In this case, the loader and the query is triggered when the view is opened, even if the user didn't open the dropdown. Now, you can define the items query nested element in the dropdown component itself and write a query in it. The query will be executed only when the user opens the dropdown. And results will be limited to 50 rows by default, or you can set the page size here. When the user scrolls through the list, data will be loaded by pages. If the user enters some text in the field, the text is used for filtering the results by providing a value to this query parameter. So when I write something here, at this moment, the query is executed with the new value of the provider or of the parameter. So items are always loaded in small batches, which reduces memory usage, and filtering by the user input is performed at the data store level by re-executing the query. As a result, you can use data sets of virtually any size if you configure items query instead of standalone collection data container. So now let's discuss the improvements in Studio. They include new features of the view designer, injection of dependencies and UI components by code completion, support for data repositories, and ability to create comments for entities and attributes. First, about the view designer. Perhaps you have already noticed that let's open different view. This one. Perhaps you have already noticed that this Jmix UI panel is now displayed in the view controller too. So you can see the components tree. You can view or change the components properties. You can even add new components, all while working with Java code in the controller. You can also drag and drop UI components from the hierarchy to the code editor and to inject them and use right away. So it means that you can switch between two editors, between XML and Java, less often now. Another cool feature of this release is the ability to inject dependencies and UI components from the code completion dropdown. Look at how it works. If I enter some characters inside a method, the code completion dropdown shows available beans and UI components having these characters in the name. I just select an item and it's injected and becomes available at the cursor position. So I don't have to invoke any special actions like this inject dialog. The whole context of beans and UI components is right at my fingertips. Same for beans. I can inject, for example, a data manager and work with it immediately. This feature works in bean methods too, not only in UI controllers, but obviously the context doesn't contain any UI components for beans, only other Spring beans. Okay, let's move on. Studio now has full support for creating and managing Spring data repositories. So I can select an entity and create a data repository for it. Studio will create a repository interface extending the Jmix data repository, and it will display data repositories under the corresponding entity node here in Jmix tool window. These buttons, add derived methods and add query methods in the code editor, allow you to create repository methods with derived or explicit queries. So for example, I can quickly create a method for selecting a list of departments by name. You can also use this gutter icon to adjust the method parameters, for example, at sorting or fetch plan, and so on. And the last feature that I would like to highlight today is the ability to add comments to entities and their attributes. Let's open the entity designer for a book entity. You can see that there are some links here for comments. So you can enter the comment here for entity or here for attribute. And Studio will save the comments in the special comment annotations on the entity class or on the fields. Later, when generating liquid-based changelogs, Studio will create these set table remarks and set column remarks comments. And as a result, the comments will be stored also in the database schema and can be viewed by other tools having direct access to the database. So you can view the comments in the entity class code, in the entity designer, in the database schema, or you can generate documentation at runtime from the entity annotations. So we have discussed the most important features of Jmix 2.1. Now a few words about the future plans. For the next release in February, we continue working on the add-ons. We'll complete the maps add-on and implement the new charts add-on. The charts add-on will be based on Apache eCharts JavaScript library. It will be a solution fully integrated into Jmix UI, similar to the charts add-on of the classic UI. On the UI layer, we are also going to implement the rich text area component. Hot deployment of BPM definitions will help development processes in Studio. Also, we are now designing a way to seamlessly use data repositories in views. Later next year, we are going to implement the dashboards and email templates add-ons, which are very popular in classic UI. Also, we plan to integrate more advanced UI components such as calendar. Okay.
Thank you, Konstantin.
Now I'll hand over the microphone back to Victor.
Thank you, Konstantin. Thank you for all of you. Everyone, you may see that we made a significant enhancement in UI development, and it makes us much more space for creativity. So most of these examples which have been demonstrated today, you may see in new UI samples located on our website. So you can visit jmix.io, visit the for developers tab sheet and find the demo project there with this UI samples demo. I have a few slides more. Just a moment. Yeah, here we are. I just want to highlight that recently we also received questions from the community. Where are we going to? What are we going to develop? A few steps back, Konstantin introduced the roadmap for the next year. Let's say a preliminary variant of the roadmap for the next year. But you can see it also on our GitHub. It's a little bit live. So you can track the issues according to estimated releases and detect what enhancements would happen next. Yeah, we move forward. But all the way around, we are focusing on major values which we try to deliver with Jmix. And just to make a small recap, Jmix stands for fast business applications development in Java. We are focused on fitting developers with various Java skill set and with various knowledge base. So you may know that developers are coming to Jmix from legacy Java technologies like JavaFX, Java Swing, and we do a lot to support them inside our technology, and we do our best to lower to make lower the barriers, the entry barriers in technologies in modern web development technology. By the way, I would also like to mention that we spread the motto since last year that we try to think globally, work locally. So we do really support the channel partners worldwide, and we have a dedicated web page on our website, and I'd like to advise you to visit this web page to acquire the data about what the advantages of working with us you may have. And basically, we are interested in enforcing the local developers' power connected with the Jmix technology to support local customers, because Jmix technology is a really worldwide technology, and more customers worldwide tend to create projects in Jmix. I would like also to mention that we are pleased to say that Jmix appears on the radars of independent reviewers, and here you can see the impact of your feedbacks. For example, here you can see the impact of feedbacks on G2 webpage, on the J2 independent review resource, and Jmix moves forward. Thank you very much, and we do really admire your inputs in this area, and we'd like to ask you to pay more attention to this area of supporting Jmix, because it will definitely help us to promote the technology, and it will help you, those who are working with our technology, to work closer to your customers, showing that Jmix is a well-known technology, and it's widely accepted, yeah, by the enterprise world. I would also like to pay attention to one of the major aspects of developing Jmix next year. We pay a lot of attention to the BPA, business process automation space. Maybe you've missed our webinar, which happened in July, where we've introduced the concept of Jmix as a single tool to deliver process-driven applications. During this webinar, we've promoted the way to develop the full stack process-driven application using one development environment, and especially Jmix Studio. And we do push the concept that you can do everything from model design to testing and deploy using one tool, and this can eliminate business process management solutions which are maybe used by your customers or by your company, and this makes you seriously cut costs and expenses on licensing of those products. So please, if you haven't got a chance to watch the video, you can detect it on our YouTube channel, and we are very pleased if you will find a minute to go through it. And sure, follow us on all of our channels. This year, we've seriously gained popularity in most of our communication channels, especially in LinkedIn and Twitter and on GitHub. So thank you very much for following us also. We are waiting for newcomers, and please recommend it to your neighbors across the industry to go and follow the Jmix technology worldwide. So now it's time for your questions, and I think it's better to go for YouTube question panel. We'll stop sharing the screen. Konstantin, can you switch on the camera also, because some questions I'm not able to answer? Yeah. I will read the question and we'll try to discuss and answer. And again, once again, I will ask everyone, do not hesitate to ask your questions. We are here to answer them. And the first question is whether the search add-on support dynamic attributes. I guess yes, but I'm not sure. Konstantin?
Currently, no. Yeah.
Okay. Are we going to support this?
I'm not sure, but yeah, if not, we should create an issue for this.
Okay. I see that Florine asks to share the project which you've demonstrated during the demo. Is it possible or better to go to UI samples, which I've already announced?
Yes, we can publish it, but it has no any outstanding material. Yeah.
Okay. So we do recommend to go to UI samples, especially for the Jmix 2.0, and you can find most of these examples which were demonstrated today there, with the code examples, with Jmix entity description, with screen descriptors, with screen controllers. So everything will be you can find everything there. A strange guy with the name SPVGL asks for whether can he use a custom-added component for dynamic attribute?
No, currently the add-on selects an appropriate type of the component based on the types of the attribute. So again, it can be an interesting feature for the future roadmap of this add-on. So please, if you are interested, file an issue in GitHub.
Yeah, you may find an issue tab on our GitHub, Jmix framework, and please post it there to make us a review and make a decision. Okay, Rares asks whether he can change the bulk editor, the bulk edit editor, for example, to add buttons to delete each field instead of inputting null.
Actually, you don't have to set null in the fields manually. There are buttons for clearing the attribute value, so they are already there. But your question about extending or changing the bulk edit window, there is no official way to change this view, but usually most parts of the framework are extendable, and you can find if you find them in the source code, you can replace it by code in your project. We have a section in the documentation which explains how to extend some parts of the framework and add-ons. So yeah, in theory, it's possible.
So it seems to be doable, but not out of the box, like anything which appears in Jmix. So there is a question towards charts add-on, availability of charts add-on. We've already announced that it will appear in February. It will be based on e-charts from Apache, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and you can even see an example also in our UI samples. We've already implemented it as a as an UI component. Yeah, let's say as a UI component integrated in Jmix. You can see an example of a rows chart, if I'm not mistaken, there in UI samples panel. I see the question from Tommaso. Hi, Tommaso. And I see that Gleb already answered the question. And again, still the demo is useful for learning. So I think that we'll need to find a way to share it.
No problem. I will do it.
And the question from, it's very hard to read. These Flow UI are also based on Vaadin, or they are Jmix homemade library. Homemade library. This is looks like a new title, a new approach for technology. Homemade, homemade library.
Yeah, of course, it's completely based on Vaadin. Yeah, Vaadin 24.1 at this moment. So yeah, it's almost the latest version.
Yeah, and I would also like to add here that using Vaadin Flow inside Jmix, you can really use all the advantages of this technology. So most of the approaches which Vaadin demonstrates can be utilized in Jmix also. And we tend to follow the mainstream technologies everywhere we can because it's too hard to bring yet another UI technology. So we try to support things which are going to be popular. So there's less homemade. I think that we'll make less homemade in future also in Jmix. Thank you, Alex, for homebrew joke. Okay. I don't see any more questions really in the panel, and I will ask everyone who watches us today to write something. Which features of Jmix 2.1 were the most favorable, which you liked most, because it's an important information for us. So you can just write down a line in the chat just to detect what things you prefer most. That's quite interesting, a little bit quite interesting. Or again, I think we can stay for a while and ask and wait for additional questions. I think we can, and while we are waiting for more questions, I will ask a question to Konstantin. What was the most difficult during these 3 years of transferring from Cuba to Jmix? What part of what was the most difficult technological issue during these 3 years? So the thing which you say it was the worst one.
I wasn't prepared for this question.
everything.
I will not be able to answer quickly.
So it was almost
painful. Probably the fact that Flow UI is so much different from the Vaadin 8 GWT based. We didn't expect so many differences, and the whole new paradigm of working with this UI framework.
Yeah, definitely. I see as a person who also promotes Jmix and trying to write new Jmix UI with the past Jmix experience, I can say there are a lot of differences. So definitely this was really hard. Yeah, we've got a question. When to expect a demo pets application for Jmix 2? I think
it's a great question. Yeah, both pets demo application and bookstore will be my personal focus in the recent in the next weeks. Yeah, so I hope.
So I can make a new promise slide. We promise. Yeah. New pets, new bookstore.
I hope we will. Yeah, we'll do it in the next few weeks.
Yeah. So it's definitely we have not enough time to prepare all the, let's say, already a little bit legacy apps and transfer them to Jmix 2.1 because we spend all our time on working with Jmix 2.1, and hope you love it also. The question is how to customize style of menu component.
I'm afraid I will not be able to answer. There are some predefined styles for the component. Probably Gleb will answer. Will answer that.
Yeah, I see that Gleb is is in the chat, so I will ask also Gleb to support us with this question. And one more question is, do you plan to implement horizontal menu component?
Yes, absolutely. We are working on it, and it will also appear in the next feature release in February.
Yeah. Thank you, Konstantin. Yeah. So there are some regards from Tommaso, especially for you, Konstantin. He says that you are the best ever. So I think that this is almost all. I'd like to say thank you, everyone who've visited our webinar today. Thank you for using Jmix. Thank you, Konstantin, for being with us and demonstrating these nice features. Maybe you would like to say something also?
Thank you for attention. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, all these years. Yeah,
all these years. Yeah, that's correct. So we are working hard to surprise you with new features. Finally, once again, I want to put the underline. So we finished with transferring to Jmix from Cuba, and we want to put a thumb here, saying that now we are working on the next generation of Jmix. And thank you very much for staying with us. All your inputs and interesting ideas preferred and favorable, please put them via all of our channels. I've already demonstrated. It can be GitHub, it can be LinkedIn, it can be Twitter or whatever, or community forum. So have a nice day. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.